Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Lisa Oligas. In this edition, we look at the many services offered through Watered Gardens Ministries. Watered Gardens is known to most in the community as a place helping the homeless with food and shelter. In fact, last year, Watered Gardens provided more than 21,000 shelter nights and met more than 29,000 needs. But it also secured 170 jobs for individuals. Watered Gardens has numerous programs working to change lives. Today we will hear one man's personal success story from being homeless, addicted, in gangs, and in and out of jail to being employed through the Forge program. But we begin our conversation with Executive Director James Whitford and Director of Outreach Ruth Willoughby. You have so many programs. It's awesome to have you both here. And the website has some great stats. But first off, just tell me, James, first, that it is more than just giving people food, giving people shelter. Tell me about your mission. What's at the heart of Watered Gardens Ministries?
Well, I mean, we really ultimately want to see people helped out of poverty. So folks are in chronic poverty, chronic homelessness, and we want to help people up and out of poverty. And you know, you can meet relief type needs, food, shelter, clothing, which we do. But if that's all you do and you just kind of give it away, then people are never empowered. They never find their purpose and employment, which is so important. I mean, every person who's trying to get out of poverty, it requires a job at some point along that route. And so the more that we continue to hand things out to people, I think the more that we keep them on the receiving end rather than calling them in to be the contributor that they're created to be.
Is that part of what is behind your True Charity initiative?
Yeah, True Charity is all about addressing the problem of bad charity crowding out good charity. Okay, so when you have good charity, which are empowering programs, seeing the individual as having capacity, value, worth, inherent dignity, and bad charity, which would be just, hey, we feel pity for you, we feel sorry for you, we're just going to continue to hand things out to you, actually crowds out good charity, because good charity always requires challenge of some sort. And challenge doesn't always feel good, and yet it's what develops people. You and I have developed because we've been challenged. If we don't at the right time, with compassion, implement challenge into what we do, people will never develop. Well, it's easy to just go for the handouts. So bad charity crowds out good charity. True Charity, the initiative, is all about how to address that through privately funded, outcome-driven, work-oriented types of help. Watered Gardens is a model of that, but we have more than 100 nonprofits across the nation now who've joined the True Charity Network who are also aligning with those ideas.
That's awesome. Ruth, tell us what your role is as Director of Outreach.
Well, I'm on the advancement team, and we serve all 4 campuses, basically through volunteer recruitment, developing relationships and partnerships with churches and businesses, and we facilitate some local fundraising events also, just to name a few things.
How important is community support, community involvement in what you all do?
Well, volunteers are everything. I know that James would agree with that. We talk about that so much. We have hundreds of volunteers that serve thousands of hours every month. Typically, we'll have a staff person in each area, and then the rest of the people that are there are volunteering, whether it's weekly or once a month. We literally have a schedule that will fit anyone that wants to plug in
awesome. I know,
and get
like,
connected.
Even a family could come in and help.
Absolutely.
Provide meals and things like that.
A lot of families do that, a lot of life groups, churches. My husband and I did a breakfast, just the 2 of us, for a while, and it was wonderful. It was a great ministry for the 2 of us. So it really can be a variety of groups that want to serve meals.
One of the things we're emphasizing right now is not just volunteers, but going beyond just serving a meal. Because it really boils down to a real relationship being developed with people. If we're going to really help people, it's going to be because we developed relationship with them. Right now, I think that there are a lot of planners and problem solvers who want to address the issues of poverty and homelessness, but their desire to address the issue exceeds their desire to be with someone who is in poverty or homeless. And as long as those scales are tilted that way, we're never going to really solve the problem.
So one of the stats that we had from last year or from your website mentions needs met, but also needs earned and food earned. So explain that term for folks and what that means to the individuals involved?
Yeah, well, everybody has an opportunity to earn what they need, and most people can do a little bit of something for what they need, and this is good. So there's an interesting quote by Adam Smith in his book Wealth of Nations, and he says, "No one has ever seen an animal through its cries and gestures signal to another animal, this is mine and that's yours, and I'll give this for that." So that type of exchange that is mutual and an agreement, that's something that only humans do. So for us to stick somebody on the end of a receiving handout all the time really is to strip that person of their human dignity. So the Worth Shop at our mission is a place where people can earn things that they need. And this is a way for people to say, hey, I can be a contributor, I'm a partner, I'm not just a charity case. And so thousands of needs are earned that way. Very basic things like food, shelter, and clothing, things that you would think I've just got to give away. But truth is, people have capacity and ability to earn those things also.
And you say self-worth. How important is that? I mean, from everybody you see, even there, Ruth and James, that it empowers them. I mean, is self-worth something that can drive change in their life? That feeling that they're contributing,
sure.
is that important? I mean, when you've talked to all these people,
Yeah.
what's the reaction saying, hey, I contributed, I did my part?
Yeah, but before COVID, I mean, we had employment rate leaving our shelter at about 60-something%.
Wow.
It's a little lower than that now, but the reason why, well, we believe that part of that is because we spark something in people when we say, hey, we believe in you. We see somebody who's able to do something, and we're going to call you to that through partnership for what it is that you need. That jumpstarts dignity and people feeling better about themselves, and we believe it leads to employment, which is needed if people are going to get out of poverty.
Are you guys seeing a growth in need? I mean, are we seeing more homeless? Are we seeing more folks coming to your shelters, your programs?
Yeah, it changes. I mean, it's a seasonal thing. So I think you get into the hot summer times, we find more needs, especially in the way of homelessness. But there have been shifts and changes that deal with the economy over the last couple of years that have been very unique. Times when there's been a lot of government help where it seems like people are
draw back.
Right. So it just changes.
How can folks reach out to you, Ruth, to help, to volunteer, to get involved?
Absolutely. The webpage is our funnel, if you will, so watergardens.org. Anyone can go to the volunteer tab, or they can even call staff if they want to. But we do a lot of tours. We do a lot of group tours, individual tours. I just did a tour before we came over today, and it was wonderful because every area that we went to, this church group was able to meet a Forge student, one of the new Forge guys. We were able to get a couple of the directors in the area, so they really had a wonderful idea of what actually happens and how much they're needed. Our mission statement is, we exist to serve the church in its mission to help the poor. And so who is the church? That's you and that's me. And we're all called to serve. And so we just invite people to come in. And as James mentioned, it's all about relationships. We just want to meet people where they are and love on them and offer them obviously the things that they need, but we just really want to see them get to the place in their life where they're walking out their purpose.
We hope others will help you. Thank you both for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. An important program of Watered Gardens is the Washington Family Hope Center. I spoke with the director and a single mom living there about its role in changing lives.
We're a homeless shelter, and so families, moms with kids is what we house here at this facility. And that's the criteria. If you don't have anywhere else to go, we try to get you in here if we have availability.
Welcome to the Washington Family Hope Center, where rooms are named after women in the Bible. Private funds furnish them. There are 6 rooms, all regularly full, according to Director Matt Engel.
And we usually stay pretty full. Usually when I have a family that moves out, within a week I've got another family ready to move in. Each room is kind of set up like a a nice hotel room. There's beds. They each have their own bathroom with a shower, a sink, and a toilet in each room. So those are private, which is really nice. And each room we can have a mom and up to 4 kids.
It's become home for Heather Weimer and her son Caden, a place with supports to help stabilize her life.
Oh goodness. Well, I was in a bad situation, and I was at Souls Harbor first, and then this place opened up for me, and it's been a big help.
We want them to feel comfortable here, like they can relax. They're not having to worry about, so many of these families are coming in from emergency situations, and they're just in survival mode. They've been worried about where they're going to sleep, where they're going to get their next meal, where they're going to get clothes for their kids.
It was super critical. I needed that extra help to not have to worry about the bills, and where I can focus on getting my mind right, my mental health right, so that I can stay in sobriety and prepare to be a good mom. I've got parenting classes here. We've done Bible study classes, learning more about God and how, just the way life works. I really didn't grow up with the best role models in the world.
The Hope Center has classes on site and also works with clients to create all kinds of educational opportunities with an end goal to become self-supporting.
Secondary education, we've been able to work with Franklin Tech, a couple other secondary places for moms to get some extra training, and then to put them in a job that is going to, first of all, support them and their family, and secondly, that's going to work with the schedule of having kids. If you're a single mom and you don't have any work, other family, that sort of thing, you can't be working a job where you're working overnights. You need to be working while your kids are at school, and that's hard to find sometimes. So with the connections that Water Gardens has in the area, it's great to be able to call up a business and say, hey, I've got a mom who they may not have looked at if they just received an application through the mail or whatever, that we can call up and say, hey, we've got a mom who's interested. Would you be willing to give them a chance?
Moms also don't have the worry of cooking meals. The Washington school had a cafeteria, but Water Gardens even added a kitchen.
So we provide our families with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks for kids. When you have kids, my kids like to eat snacks between every meal and before bedtime. And so we provide that for them. We have a staff member who provides breakfast and lunch, and we buy the food for that. And then we have volunteer crews that come in and do dinner for us.
With bunk beds on one side and an adult bed with trundles below, rooms can be expanded to house a mom and 4 kids, but there's constant demand.
I think I kept track from May of 21 to May of 22 for a full year, and received over 150 phone calls of families that we had to turn away, that we did not have a spot for, and those are individual families, not repetitive calls. And so for that amount of time, for there to be 150 families that we didn't have a spot for, really kind of opened our eyes to how much more of a need there is here in this area.
The Hope Center is renovating the old Washington School's 3rd floor to add 9 more rooms, basically doubling its shelter space, kickstarted by an award of $125,000.
Water Gardens is completely privately funded. We don't do any government funding at all. We don't do any loans. We're debt-free completely, so everything is privately funded through individual donations, through private grants, that sort of thing. One of our big donors for raising funds for upstairs, we won an award through Chick-fil-A, their True Inspiration Award, and so they awarded us $125,000, which kind of kick-started what we needed to get going upstairs. So that was a huge thing for us.
It has made such a difference in my life to have a place like this. If you're going to donate, do it. We appreciate it more than you know.
Heather says the Hope Center has been good for her son, offering structure that was missing.
It's a good foundation for him. It's structure. That's what I was thinking of. It's a really good structure for him. I never really had that with him. So he's been thriving with that. I've been learning a lot here, like how to live on my own and how, to better take care of my son.
All hope the lessons she learns will trickle down to her son to help end what is often a cycle of poverty.
The stats for people who experience homelessness as an adult it's something like 80% of them had experienced trauma as children. And so not only are we helping this mom change her life and her trajectory, but hopefully we're ending that cycle. You know, so many of the moms, the families that we have come through here, they were as children in poverty. They were homeless with their parents or grandparents and in and out of the foster care system, stuff like that. And so not only are we helping them stabilize, but then hopefully what we're doing is we'll see the results in 10 years where these kids who may have shown up at our outreach center as an adult aren't going to, because of what is happening, the change that's happening in their families while they're here.
I think that it's showing him as he gets older that the steps to take for whenever he gets older, he won't have to maybe come to a place like this, and he'll be able just to do it on his own when he gets old enough.
The Washington Family Hope Center is already seeing successes.
So our goal is within a year that they are able to be self-sufficient, to not be dependent on government funding or anyone else, but be able to have a job and have money saved up to be able to move out on their own. We have a great relationship with God's Resort here in town, so we've had a few moms that have been able to move over there, which is just a great natural next step for our families. But we do have moms that have, found their own place, moved out on their own, and paying rent, whatever that looks like.
Breaking the cycle and building hope and dreams for moms like Heather.
I did my certified peer support. That is going to be my dream to eventually do that. I have to get my license back and I have to get a car, and then I could go do peer support, because you have to have a car so you can go see clients. But initially, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be a peer support for rehab so I can help people like me.
The Watered Gardens Ministries Forge program is described as a place where students leave welfare behind to pursue character development and career readiness. There's no better way to learn about a program than to talk with someone who's gone through it and come out the other side as a success and contributing member to the community. We're joined by Dan Carell. Thank you for joining us to share your story.
Thank you, Lisa.
Tell us a little bit about your personal journey. You come to Missouri from California, where you had kind of a troubled life.
I did. So it started off because I think there was no father in the home. Mm-hmm. I'm from a single parent. So then we lived in a small town in Central California, and we lived in some homes there that were owned by my grandfather. And my grandparents were good to me, but they were a little older, and they did the best they could, mm-hmm. but they also had their own problems.
Right. But you turned to the streets and you got support from gangs, which isn't the right kind of support, huh?
Right, exactly. So we ended up moving from the small town in Central California up to Sacramento. That's a bigger city. And my mom didn't have that support from my grandparents to help her with me. So when she would go to work to help support us, I would go out and some gang members in the local community befriended me, and looking for love in all the wrong places and acceptance, I cling to that lifestyle quickly.
Yeah. So you had experience then with different kinds of drugs or alcohol. It even led to some jail time.
Yes.
How hard was it to break away from that, and what brought you to Watered Gardens?
Okay, so it was very hard. So I led that lifestyle from my early teens. 13, I was already using meth and alcohol and weed, marijuana. So that led to selling it to gain more, revenue to support that habit. But I found a job in my early teens that helped me, not so, get lost so much in the system, because a lot of my friends were dying, they were going to prison. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of those things. So the work kind of somewhat helped me, but at the same time, I was still addicted. Yeah. So eventually, that's how I lived my life, just working to support my habit.
Right.
And eventually, I came to my lowest low, and I was in my early 30s, back at mom's, strung out, nowhere to go. And then eventually, a friend from Missouri invited me over, said, hey, well, they came to visit me and said, hey, why don't you come back? Yeah,
Come to Joplin.
Come to Missouri. You could start over. And I said, sure. So I came out here, and I still did the same thing that I was doing out there. It was hard. It's just
Hard habits to break.
Right, because that's the life I knew. So I was doing that here in Joplin. Wasn't doing too good for the first year. However, I enjoyed the area. I enjoyed the change. It was the people were a lot nicer, it seemed.
Okay.
So then I found Watered Gardens because I had become homeless in downtown Joplin. Somebody in the community said, hey, you can go to Watered Gardens and work for a shower, which it was like the longest I ever been without a shower. It was like 13 days.
Wow.
And I actually had a job, but I was just barely holding on to because of the lack of just resources and still the lifestyle I was leading in my life. So I found Watered Gardens, and sure enough, I worked, it's like 15 minutes for a clean towel and toiletries and a shower.
And why is that important? Why is the idea of like, you appreciated work?
Yes.
Is it important to you to say, oh, I earned that? We talked about, did that mean something to you? Does it make someone feel different to say, you're not just handing it out?
Oh, totally. And not just that, but the community part, being part of saying, hey, we want you to hang out with us for a little bit. We want to minister to you. We want to share the gospel with you. We want to be kind to you at the same time. We can't do that by just saying, here you go. I mean, that's kind, and it could be, it's compassion. We act and we're compelled to be compassionate, but it's not as responsible.
So talk to me, you got into the Forge program. What did that mean for you?
Oh, well, I actually got out of jail in 2017 that summer from being in and out, and I had like one foot in the door at Watered Gardens, and they already started to sow those seeds, and I got out of jail, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I knew that there was a program because I was a resident at Watered Gardens in the shelter, so I knew there was a program, and I said, I'm gonna go for it. This is what I need to do. So I went there on a Sunday night in the chapel there, and I gave my life to the Lord. I received salvation and Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And the next day I was in the Forge.
And so that program helps you to get some training. You then eventually went to
Yes.
Bible college.
Yes.
And now you're working for the Forge program. What does that mean to you to talk to others about how far you've come?
Oh, it means a lot. It means a lot to me. And I have come so far in such a short time. It's like the Lord has me on fast track. Like it's just been nonstop action.
Tell us a little bit about your job and what you actually do.
So I'm a Forge instructor, but I also do some administrative stuff and also helping direct where we want to go, our vision, and putting together the programs that we do, the classes, and I teach there and facilitate programs. I take them in to our evening programs that we have in the community, and also facilitate the area, make sure we're being good stewards of what we have.
Do you think they can trust you because they know you've been there? I mean, do you feel like you can relate to some of the people coming in there?
Oh,
yes. You've walked in their shoes?
Right, yeah. It makes a big deal when it comes to the relational side of it.
Thank you for joining us and enlightening us on this topic. When we come back, we talk with Doug Gamble, Director of Social Enterprise in the Outreach Center, on the issue of homelessness and help at the Watered Gardens Outreach Center. As we go to break, the website where you can hear more of Dan's story and a QR code to help you learn more about Watered Gardens. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Newsmakers, where we continue our conversation about Water Gardens Ministries and its many programs. Joining us now is Doug Gamble, Director of Social Enterprise. Thanks for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So you deal a lot with the homeless at Water Gardens. How big of an issue is this for Joplin? And explain your feeding operation and the shelter operation on Kentucky Avenue.
Yeah, absolutely. The Outreach Center really is, in so many ways, the front lines for the ministry. And so at the Outreach Center, we have our emergency shelter as well as our day outreach. The day outreach is really for anyone that could be homeless or just in need of food, clothing, or otherwise, and they may or may not be homeless. And that operates during the week. But our emergency shelter is open every single night, never closes, holiday or pandemic or nothing shuts it down, because we know that people are always in need of a place to stay, a warm meal, and clothing.
So do you have a certain set days for feeding operations that, certain days of the week that you might be closed, like for lunch?
So for the shelter, we serve breakfast and dinner 365 days a year. It goes along with the emergency shelter services. And then during day outreach, we actually have lunch one day a week on Mondays. And then for anyone needing lunch, it's nice that there's a local organization just a couple blocks away that does lunch every day.
So how important are your volunteers?
Well, they're vital. They are really, in many ways, the lifeblood of the ministry that keeps it going. They're in every aspect of the ministry, both really serving for the task, say it's serving a meal or working in our mission market, but it is about the relationship that they're forming along with the task that they do.
And some of the folks who come to eat then do get involved and take part. What are some of the jobs they might do as part of the feeding operation in the shelter?
Yeah, absolutely. If they're at the outreach center, they might serve and partner down in the workshop, or they might serve and partner up in the outreach center, doing chores and other things, cleaning and so forth.
Tell us some of the things that are made in the workshop.
Yeah, down there they roast coffee, they make leather journals, leather bracelets, copper bracelets, and a lot of the material is recycled, whether it's leather from a leather couch or it's copper coming out of appliances that we recycle.
Is it important that folks can leave there feeling like they have some kind of skills and something that they can be marketable?
Absolutely. So folks that come to the Outreach Center, emergency shelter particularly, are typically very beat down by life circumstances, beat down by what maybe has happened to them in their life. And so really anything, of course we're loving on people every single day, but anything that really empowers them, that reminds them that they have something to contribute out of themselves. Being made in the image of God, they have something to contribute, even just for what they need. But it's great to see them be a part of what's going on and not just a recipient.
Well, Doug Gamble, thank you for all you do and for all Water Garden does for our community.
Thank you.
Thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching Newsmakers. I'm Lisa Oligas.